Hey everybody, Jillian here, and I've got a new, different process video for you today. So I am going to journal some sermon notes in my traveler's notebook like I've been doing in weeks past, but I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be a scrapbooker. I actually started this channel scrapbooking and have all of those videos saved, by the way. So when I first started scrapbooking, I had to look at a sketch before I created anything each time because I had no idea what I was doing. So I thought it would be really fun today to take a 12 by 12 scrapbook sketch like this one and transfer it into my traveler's notebook. So you can see here that there are this patterned paper, there's a spot for a title, journaling, and a photo. So instead of using a photo today, I am going to use a print and pray element, and let me show you what I plan on using for that. So here are my supplies. I've got some print and pray pieces from Brianna Showalter from her digital printable set, Be Thou My Vision, some Paige Evans patterned paper from her Oh My Heart collection. I've got the 6x6 patterned paper pad here, and then I've got a couple of 12 by 12 sheets in the background. I love this large floral mixed with this black and white stripe, and then I've got an even older piece of chipboard. This is from her very first scrapbook collection with pink paisley, and it's my favorite, but I want to use it today. I don't want to just hold on to it forever. So I've already decided which patterned papers that I want to use for this project, so I've got them pulled out here, and I'm going to use a ruler to see about how big I want them. Really, I'm eyeballing this because if you've watched any of my videos before where I break out a ruler, I don't measure right or cut right or anything. Using rulers and measurements and things like that are not fun for me, but I'm going to try. So I know that this is a 6x6 piece of patterned paper, and I want about 5 inches of of patterned paper for each block. But then I'm really just guessing here, like how wide each piece of paper should be. So I'm looking to see here, okay, this is a little over 8 inches. If I do 2 inches each of 5 different patterns, it's going to be too large. Let's shrink it down a little bit. Okay, that looks good. I'll continue on this trajectory until I cut into the next piece of paper. And you can see it doesn't match the other one. So, yeah. I think I'm using a 5 by 1.5 piece of patterned paper for every piece except for the black and white striped one because I knew that was going to go in the middle into the crease of the notebook, and I wanted that to be a little bigger. My husband and I joke that we are the same person. We're very similar, but I realized that we are total opposites when it comes to this because he is all about precision and perfection. He has to be. He works in that kind of field, and I am not. So I'm going to tell him when he gets home that I've identified like the one area of life where we're total opposites. So you can see that I decided to go with the smaller scale of this gorgeous floral pattern instead of the large one. I thought that would be to get more of these pretty flowers into the spread if I used the smaller one. Next, I'm going to go ahead and lay these guys out, and I'm going to do my best to keep the stripes away from the stripes, so keep the 2 striped papers from sitting right next to each other. I want to keep the 2 larger patterns, so the black and white stripe and the florals, I want to keep those from being right next to each other, and I want to keep the black and white stripes in the middle. So I'm going to move these around a bunch trying to make that happen. And I think this is how it's going to look best. So I'm going to go ahead and get these guys down with the Illustrated Faith tape runner. Okay, and then move on to these glasses from Brianna. So I really want to pull out some pink in this spread, but I just love these glasses with the florals in them. They don't actually go along with what I'm journaling today, but I don't care. So here's a peek at some of the really cute pieces in Brianna's set. I'll link it in the video description below if you want to check it out. But as a glasses wearer, I really appreciate craft supplies that have glasses. Okay, so I glued that guy down, and then I'm just looking to my alpha sticker stash for my title. So I'm going to put the title across the top just like we saw in the sketch, and I'm going to mix different colors and sizes and fonts of alpha stickers. So I'm using 2 different pinks from the Florence alphabets from Bella Boulevard, and then I'm using these puffy wonky stickers also from Bella Boulevard. And then those small colorful ones in the background, those are from Pink Fresh, and they're so fun. They're puffy also. They're a great size, and they come in really great colors. So I'm spelling out the title, Living Invisibly, which was the last sermon in this series, where we were talking about offloading bad for you character traits, and one of them is living invisibly, which I'll explain more in a moment. So you can also see on this sketch that they included the journaling on top of the patterned paper. So I went to my typewriter and I typed out the Bible verses that we referenced in this sermon. So Luke 8:15-16, the end of the parable of the sower, and then the beginning of the next passage. And my pastor shared an overlooked bit of grammar in the text that actually links these two together, which I love because I'm really into geeky things like that. So I typed this out on my typewriter, kind of messy, and I made sure to leave enough space in between each line so that I could cut it out in strips like this, and then you'll see I'm just going to cut it up as necessary to make it work in the spread. So this is what it's going to look like. I just cut it up where like the page folded in half. So I just cut it up to kind of like overlap the blocks of patterned paper, and in a way that would look good. So the verse says, this is Jesus sharing the parable of the sower, explaining it to the disciples. As for that in the good soil, the seeds that is, they are those who, hearing the word, hold it fast in an honest and good heart and bear fruit with patience. Then he mentions this word now that actually doesn't appear in the text but is there in the original text. Now, no one, after lighting a lamp, covers it with a jar, but puts it on a stand so that those who enter may see the light. So I'm going to look to these puffy stickers from Pink Fresh and really pull out that word now that combines these two passages. Off camera, I also added some of that chipboard in the bottom right corner, just a couple fun diamonds that matched the colors of the spread. And then I'm looking to my notes, and I'm just going to jot down the main ideas in the white space above and below the patterned paper. And I do a couple finishing touches at the end, but that is really it. That is the meat of the entry. It's so fun to look back over some sermon notes that are a couple weeks old, and really just revisit them instead of hearing it and then walking away and never thinking about it again, right? So I'll just read to you my notes really quick. If you want to check out this sermon, I'll link it in the video description below. I'm just writing, some have convinced themselves that we can be a follower of Jesus incognito or undercover, but we can't camouflage our faith in Christ to avoid uncomfortable circumstances. A resurrected life, which was the theme of this sermon series, is a visible life to reflect the glory of God that others might see, which is what Jesus talks about in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5:16. And then on the bottom, I'm going to continue writing, when Christians go invisible, the church goes invisible. And then our pastor gave us 6 steps to be not invisible. So the first is, don't be embarrassed about your faith. The second, know your story. The third, pursue God's holiness. 4, be open to listening to people. 5, be okay with being interrupted. And 6, get into a small group. I thought about using these numbers from the Pink Fresh set to like bullet the 6 points, but realized that I was probably going to run out of room if I did that, so I decided not to. But I'll definitely consider that for next time. Once I'm done with my journaling, then I am going to use some StazOn jet black ink and the Illustrated Faith Roller Date It stamp to spin the dial and have it say sermon, and then I'm going to date it with the date of the sermon. I've got a little more blank space to the left of those glasses on the yellow piece of patterned paper, so I'm going to go to the chipboard set and pull out a couple of fun little plus signs, and then I really like this piece that says note to self. The yellow is not an exact match for the yellow that's on the other side of the spread, but I think if I put them far enough away, it'll be okay. And that is going to do it. So here's a finished look at my project. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below. Again, if you want to listen to that sermon, I've got it linked below. And if you want to check out any of the supplies I used, I'll link the ones that are currently available down in the video description below. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you soon.